Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of my Ideate Software series, where I'll be going in depth about each feature and application the Ideate software has to offer. In this episode, we'll be focusing on the first option, which is BIMLink. BIMLink is awesome for linking a Revit model to an Excel spreadsheet, where you can make a lot of different changes for family types or revisions on sheets or sheet lists or sheet numbers and names. And you can make all of these changes in an Excel file, which can be awesome to use the formula features that Excel has to offer, where you can potentially change 100 different objects or more or sheets at once, and you can import that Excel file back into Revit, and all those changes will be made automatically. In order to showcase some of these features that BIMLink has to offer, I want to focus on the revisions on sheet, as this can be extremely helpful in project. As towards the end of projects, sometimes when you're trying to get something out the door, the last thing you think of is going through and changing all these different sheets, which could take up to several hours and tedious work going through and changing and clicking on every individual Revit sheet and changing something in the description or some project number. So in order to prevent this headache from happening and going through this and taking a lot of project hours to do this, BIMLink is an awesome way to work around this. So first, just as a quick refresher and to add a couple of revisions that we can play with to the project, if you go up to the View tab under Sheet Composition and hover over this little bubble with a caret sticking out, you can click on this. And this is where you can add or change different revisions. So this project that we're in right now is just a traditional Revit basic sample project that is default loaded into everybody's Revit. So this first revision is something that is already preloaded in there, and we can create a new revision called revision 2. And we can change the dates, you can change the numeric numbering in here, whether it be numeric or alphanumeric or no numbering. You can change the revision description, stuff like that. So we're just going to keep that as revision 2 for simple terms, and we're going to click OK. All right, now that revision was added to the project, so we can go back to Ideate Software tab or ribbon over here, and we can click on BIMLink and get that fired up. So this will create Ideate BIMLink, and in this empty space right here, we'll soon see a link to our Excel sheet, but right now we have no link, so we need to click New. And this will bring up the option and ability to create a new link. Ideate BIMLink is awesome because it has a lot of preloaded folders and properties in here, and you can look through these and look into different options. But today we're going to be focusing on revision management, as previously mentioned. So we can click on that, number 8 on here, and we can click on revision on sheet. This will bring up the link information such as the name, category, description, data key, and instance. And this is actually very important to highlight where our data key for this is ID. So keep that in mind as we go to, we click next and the option to edit our sheets link. So these are all the available properties that we can add to view in our Excel file. So if we want to have the check by property in there, the current revision, or any different these appear in the Excel sheet, we can bring those over by clicking add, and it'll transfer over there. However, I don't want guide grade in there, so I'm just going to go back and remove that. And these are all the different properties that we have preloaded in here. Since we only have 6 sheets in this project, it's showing all 6 right now. However, if you're working on an actual project where you might have 100 drawings in here, you may only see 3 and be like, hey, where are the rest of my sheets? So if that's possible, this show full preview option could be unchecked. And if you click that, you would see all the different options that are going that are in the project, or all the different sheets that are in the project. As previously mentioned, our data key is set to ID. So this will be the first one up here, and this will be shown on the left side, and this will be highlighted in gray. So no matter what you do, whatever you add or remove, or whatever you remove from the linked properties, you have to keep ID there since it needs some kind of reference to identify the sheet that you're selecting. However, if you want to change that reference from the ID, you could click on something. So say we want sheet number to be the identification. We can click on that, and we could do set as data key. But for now, I'm just going to keep it as the ID. However, I do not want the scale property in there, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click remove. You might see you can move up and down. So say you want the sheet name before the sheet number, you can click on that. You can click move up, and it will move over there in the format as well. So this is reading top to bottom from left to right. But I want that under the sheet number, so I'm going to go back. Okay, so now that we have all the linked properties that we want for the Revit project, we can go down here into this preview. So these two options are Boolean expressions, which means it can be unchecked or checked to mean true or false. And since we're only working with a couple of sheets here, we have the luxury of being able to see these changes live applied. And instead of, say we didn't want to export this to Excel and we only had a couple sheets to change, we could just click this and check the box, and you'll be able to see this revision right in here. So if you squint, you might be able to see it in there. If we uncheck, it vanishes. But that's not as fun as the properties of the BIMLink and doesn't show the full power of the app. So we're just gonna show how to do this properly in Excel. So after we have all of our linked properties set, we can click done. And now our link is created to the Excel sheet. As previously mentioned before, this was empty. However, we just created that link, so now it appears in here. So if we click on it and click export, it will bring up the ability to save this onto your computer. So this was something I was previously created that was a mistake. So I'm just going to resave this file as here. However, you can navigate to whatever folder pathway you want to on your computer. We can click on that and we can click save. I want to overwrite it since it's not correct. And then after it's 100% loaded, we can go ahead and click open file, which will fire up Excel in the background and open that Excel file that we just created, which might take a second. So here's where we can really use the BIMLink magic to start manipulating this Excel file and then import it back into Revit, and it will match everything that we've laid out here. So we can just go ahead and start changing sheet numbers. We can go ahead and start changing sheet names and any different revisions. So that check to mark true or false in the preview is now labeled as false or true. So revision 1 shows up on every single sheet. We can go ahead and click true, and then using the Excel functionality, just dragging down, we can change all of these to true. We can do the same thing for here, but let's just keep it as revision 1 for now to show the changes that we want to make. And we can go into here and we can start changing names. So we can keep title sheet the same way. We can change plan to plan view. Oops, my all caps are still on. We can change this to building elevations. And let's say we want to make all of these the second series instead of one. We can just do that. So a lot quicker than what you would do in Revit by going through in any other way and changing them. You can just do it right in Excel. And this is awesome because say we could have just added 1 to this and dragged it down to fill up like 100 different cells at once. We can go through and change the sheet name super fast. So after we make those changes, we can click save. And then that's saved. We can close out of that Excel file and then go back into Ideate BIMLink and we can click import. Let's go back to our folder pathway, select the Excel file that we want to use, click open. It will show the changes that we made highlighted in yellow. So we made all of the 101 series into the 201 series and 202 and so forth. We made this plan view and building elevations, and we applied the first revision to all the different sheets. So after we click import, that will be loaded into our Revit project, and we can close out of BIMLink. So now, just to double check our work, if we go into here, this is that title sheet that we looked at. So revision 1 is applied. If we go down to our sheet list, we can see that all the 101 series became the 201 series. We changed we changed this title to building elevations. We changed this to plan view. And if we click on a random title sheet, just to double check that the revision was applied to everything, here is the sheet. And if we go in, boom, like magic, the revision is right in there. So again, this is an awesome way to update hundreds of different title blocks at once, all doing this through Excel and using the beautiful function that Excel has to offer of seamlessly being able to update text and use formulas to change numbering and such. Um, yeah, so that has been a massive upgrade, or I hope this is a massive upgrade to your workflow. And if you are towards the end of a project and you're trying to get something out the door and you need to go change 100 different drawings, instead of taking the full project day to do this, you could do this in essence in a couple hours or less just by using BIMLink. So this idea of using BIMLink to select properties that you want to change, export those properties into Excel, change everything in Excel, and then import back into Revit is not only limited to making revision changes on sheets. If we go back into BIMLink and click New, as we mentioned, we clicked on revision management, and that's what we were focusing on. However, we have all these different types of preloaded libraries that are in BIMLink to start. So if we click on mechanical, we can see here on the right side all the different types of mechanical options that would be in the project. And say we have 100 different air terminals that are loaded into the project, and we need to change the tag or the identification code for each air terminal. Instead of going through and doing it in a schedule or going through and doing it by clicking on each individual element in the project and changing its individual property, we could just click on air terminals, which there are no air terminals loaded into the project right now, so I'm not going to go through with this. But if we click this and we went next, we could follow that same logic of adding all the different types of properties. We could change the name, the number, the room number, and such that whatever matches the tag. And we can export that into Excel, and then we can manipulate all 100 different air terminals at once instead of going through step by step in the project. This same logic can be repeated over and over again for different electrical equipment, for different plumbing equipment, and you could play around with this as well, where you can look at the architectural links, you can change different areas, um, different room data, stuff like that. So like I mentioned, Ideate BIMLink is an incredible tool to add to your project. It automates so much of the mundane tasks that go on in the background of projects that eat into our project budget. And if we can get through those and sped up hours, we can get those hours back into the project for additional work, or that can go back into our budget. So that's my little crash course on Ideate BIMLink and how we can use it to be more efficient Revit designers. Please make sure you like and subscribe and leave any comments down below. I'm happy to answer or create more videos about Ideate BIMLink to provide more in-depth analysis about how you can customize it and how you can use it for your own project needs.